No, but we might as well see the humor. But I think we need to see.
Well, we started off really good. I lost the clip on my transmitter, so I guess it goes in my pocket. All right. I don't see anybody that needs this, but my name is Virgil Stucker, and I'm Lenora's oldest brother. Lenora didn't want a funeral, so we're not going to have one. Okay? Her son Leonard wanted a celebration of her life, and so that's what we're going to do. Thank you for coming and helping the family do that. Hopefully you will enjoy getting to know the Stucker family better. I can tell you that I don't think this is going to be a normal service. At least I hope not. And that in mind, there's a couple of things. If you want to move to see the pictures when they're up here, please do so. And feel free to get up and move around anytime you so desire. The restrooms would be through the door, down this hall, and then make a left and right there. And I guess what I'm saying is we're not real formal here today. We're going to have a lot of sharing time, I hope. If I know my family, that should work. So, first of all, I want to thank Holly and Wes for compiling and writing the obituary, and I'm going to ask Dale to come up and read it.
Virgil is the oldest of the remaining siblings, and I am the youngest one, the baby. Okay. Trifocals don't work really well, so I may stumble a little. Lenora Pearl Stucker Weir Moore was born on April 2, 1943 in Shawnee, Oklahoma, to Leonard and Pearl Mars Stucker. She was the oldest of 8 children. During Lenora's early childhood, she and her mother Pearl lived with her grandparents, that would be Dad's mom and dad, while her father Leonard served as a medic in the U.S. Army during World War II in both Germany and occupied Japan. He was one group out of all of the Army that got to do that. And okay, we'll say that for later. Anyway, that's a dad thing, but it was an interesting situation that he found himself in, to be both in the European front and Japan. That didn't happen much. Let's see, where was I? Sorry, I got sidetracked. With only a few furloughs to be at home, he finally returned home around her 3rd birthday. When Lenora was approximately 8 years old, the family moved to Wisconsin, where they operated a 200-acre dairy farm. Loved that place. Lenora helped with much of the homework and housework, and she was known to be a second mother to her 4 youngest brothers. More to be said later about that. In Wisconsin, she attended Pine Grove School, a one-room school for 1st through 8th grade. She graduated from New Auburn High School in 1961. Lenora married Darrell Dean Weir in August of 1961, and they both moved to Colorado. Their firstborn son, Jerry Dean, was born in 1968. Their second son, Leonard Dean, born in 1970. Jerry, however, passed away in 1973 at nearly 5 years of age from, at the time, incurable childhood leukemia. The couple eventually divorced in 1991. Shortly after moving to Colorado, Lenora began working for the city of Lakewood in the city attorney's office, then as a night shift dispatcher for the city police, and finally, in the city clerk's office, working a total of 52 years for the city of Lakewood, Colorado. She retired in July of 2021. You don't get many people to have a career with one company like that. So of that, I'm very impressed. She did great. Lenora married William Frederick Bill Moore in 1999, and Bill passed away in 2018. In April of 2023, Lenora moved to Meridian, Idaho, where she could be near her siblings and they could help with her care. She spent the last 8 months of her life right here in Boise, Idaho, thankful and content to be at Edgewood Spring Creek Memory Care Center, just down the road a little ways. Lenora lived and loved as a fiercely devoted mother. She loved traveling with many of her friends and family members. She traveled to each of the 50 states and several countries as well. She attended many class reunions in Wisconsin, returned many times, made frequent trips to see her family in Idaho, and enjoyed using her timeshare. She enjoyed also going to the theater and to plays, and was a Denver Bronco fan. She loved going on rides to the mountains, and before her children were born, she was an avid and enjoyed hunting a great deal in the Colorado Rockies. She was preceded in death by her son Jerry, her parents, former husband, and father of their children Darrell, and husband Bill. Survivors include her son Leonard of Aurora, Colorado, her 7 siblings and their spouses, starting oldest to youngest, Virgil and Diane Stucker, Bob and Tian Stucker, Susie and Doyle Stucker, Palmer, Does anybody know where Susie Stucker's mitt is? I remember that. That was after they were married too. Let me rephrase. Susie Stucker Palmer. How's that sound? All of Meridian, Idaho. Wesley and Holly Stucker of Jefferson, Oregon. David and Vanessa Stucker of Kuna, Idaho. And Dean and Danelle Stucker and Dale and Roberta Stucker of Meridian, Idaho. Numerous nephews, nieces, and extended family members. 4 days after falling and fracturing a hip, Lenora passed away on Friday, December 6, 2024, at the age of 81 years. This celebration of life here today on Monday, December 16, 2 p.m., and we're grateful you're all here. Thank you for coming.
Okay. David, also one of Lenora's brothers, will moderate our sharing segments. We're going to break up our sharing into 3 different segments. First, Lenora's childhood until her marriage. Second, life in Colorado. And then life in Idaho. Please feel free to move around during these times, and whether you want to see the pictures better, although there was some debate as to whether we should show the pictures while we're sharing, and whether it would be too distracting. So I'm going to ask you to balance that. If I see you all looking at the pictures and not listening to the people sharing, I may tell her to shut them off. So anyhow, but I decided I like them up there, so that's what we're going to do. As many of you know, of my family members anyhow, early memories of our life are mostly non-existent to me. I don't know why God made me that way, but I don't remember much about my childhood. I don't remember much about my life back in Wisconsin. And what I do remember is what I have learned from sitting around with my family listening. And when something comes to my mind, in fact, when I wear overalls a lot, except for places like this, Lenora liked that because she immediately started talking about us milking cows. And that's what I wore back when I milked cows with her. There was, in the obituary, it talked about her being helping in the house a lot. But when she talked to me about us milking cows together. And so she did that as well. So I really do appreciate that, and that may be influencing a lot of what we're doing today, is just the family reminiscing and talking, because it is important to me. And I hope you enjoy getting to know the Stucker family a little better through it. And so that's what we're going to be doing. With that in mind, I'm going to ask David to come up and start off the sharing. David has more stories than I can even fathom. To be real honest with you, he could probably fill up a couple of hours without even batting an eyelid. But he's got a couple he's got to start us off with, and then he's going to hand the mic around. And we're not just family, but if some of you have something you want to throw in, let us know too. But so this is what I said, we're making this a little different. And a lot of it's really important to me, because this is how I remember my childhood, my life, my family, and it has been extremely valuable to me. David?
So I'm going to start with one. This is on, I assume. Probably more on now. Test. There we go. I'm going to start with one, and I haven't really given this the credit I think that it was due until just recently. But when Dean and Dale came along, I can easily imagine when Mom was pretty tied up with them. And I think Lenora really kind of turned out to be a surrogate mom for me. And I think there was attachment that I didn't have an appreciation for. I remember younger dreaming a lot. I woke up and everybody had moved away, and I was in this big house alone because they all packed up and moved while I was sleeping. Well, I wonder if maybe that came when Lenora married Daryl and they moved away. And I did try to fix that. I got wind that they were going to get married, and apparently I went to sort it out. Daryl was out at our place. He was relaxing. I don't know if he was taking a nap or just kicking back and relaxing. Apparently I hit him over the head with a baseball bat because I wasn't having it. Well, he went ahead and married her and they moved away anyway, so it didn't solve anything. But, yeah.
The second to last time I went to visit Aunt Lenora, she kept telling the same story over and over and over again.
Really?
And that story was when you were little and she got married to Uncle Daryl, she kept saying, well,
Sorry, Cindy.
There you go.
Drop the
don't
ball.
make me touch that thing. So Aunt Lenora was telling me a story when she was just telling the story over and over again. It was adorable, but and Lenny was there one of the times too, in April for her birthday, and she kept saying over and over when she got married to Uncle Daryl and she went away, you kept saying, well, who's going to be my mommy now? Who's going to be my mommy now?
So there may be something.
Yes. You and she were like this apparently from what she kept saying.
Oh. You know, okay. I might be done.
We're doing the sucker thing now.
On the same vein there, she was so much a mother to us that she didn't want Dean and I to be a problem in the wedding, so we were disinvited. She rented a babysitter and gave the babysitter Dean and I, so we didn't screw things up. So while Dean and I got to light Virgil and Diane's candles, thank you very much, we didn't even get to go to that one.
So did she perhaps invite you and Dean to climb up on top of the silo? That's for another day.
So I do, and there's a time I remember well. It was time for Lenora to give me a bath. Well, as near as I can tell, I was at the grand old age of 6 or less, and I decided I wasn't having that either. And so she just turned the water on and went out, and I locked her out. And she came back, and she was locked out. She was not happy, and she said, "Dave, you open this door right now." I said, "I'm not doing it." And we had a discussion through the door, and she said, "I'm going to tell Mom." And she went and told Mom. Mom sided with me, and I was a very happy guy that day. And I got to take my own baths from then on. But I won't forget that. And Daryl was the one that told me more than once that I took the bat to him when I found out that they were getting married. Can somebody help me confirm? I heard more than once that Lenora did not mind being shocked by an electric fence. She actually kind of got a kick out of it. And grabbed a hold of it more than once. Susie, where are you? Can we get a confirmation on that, or is that just a rumor?
I know I grabbed the electric fence, couldn't let go.
You couldn't let go. Okay, it was you. And
Susie, would you come on there?
I'm going to take just a
So
moment.
what we're looking for is memories of Lenora before she got married. And what these guys are telling me, I think I will remember. Because, and that's the way I'm working it. So these things are really important to me. And that maybe have a lot to do with how I've kind of organized this thing.
Okay. Do you know, was she rather humored by the electric fence? Because I got the idea that she was.
I could not answer that. I don't recall anything about it.
So,
I remember getting hold of an electric fence,
and you couldn't let
and
go.
I could not let go of it.
Okay.
Somebody had to go out and turn the fencer off.
Okay, I remember
And
that.
Dad got a new fencer, I think, one of those that was intermittent.
Wow. Yeah. That's probably why we have those. Total sidebar, Breezy's came over and told Wes and I, don't touch that fence. The cows keep getting out, and we amped it up a little bit, and we saw one come over and stick his nose to it, and it dropped it. It looked like it had been shot, and I wonder if he just plugged that bugger into the wall, but that's a sidebar. Anyway, it worked. That cow just laid there, and after, we wondered if it was dead. Do you remember this, Wes? It just laid there. And finally it got up and staggered off, and we're like, that's not going to happen again. Okay, moving on. Early memories of Lenora.
My early memory of Lenora is nothing. But I do recall someone told me a story that when Lenora came and visited us after she had moved to Colorado, that she found Dale and I in the barn and said, "Where's Dad at?" And we said, "Well, our dad's in," no, our response was, "Our dad's in the barn, where's yours?" That's basically, I don't remember Lenora getting home with us, although I do absolutely remember her as a big sister. I have to second that memory of having no memory of Lenora at home. It's just a blank. I would like to think that had we gone to the wedding, we would have remembered it. But I fear that probably her memory would be a disaster because we would have interrupted it so badly. Of that, I'm actually pretty confident. And apparently she was too. I do have one memory that she had of Dean and I, just as we came home from the hospital after being born. Lenora was in the barn milking the cows, and Dad walked into the barn, and she knew that they had come to the hospital, Dean and I, and or have a baby in this case. And Dad walked into the barn, and he had the biggest grin on his face, she said, that she ever saw in her life that night. That was the biggest grin she ever saw. And she said, "Well, was it a girl?" I mean, obviously he's got this big grin on his face. And he goes, "Nope." "Huh. 2 girls?" "Nope. Boy." Because there's plenty of boys, and they were really kind of hoping for a girl. "No." 2 boys. "Yep." And she said, you know, apparently it didn't bother him because he was thrilled to have us. So I was thrilled to be part of the family. So for that, I'm grateful. And I appreciate her relating that story to us, and her, and eventually learning that, yep, she was our second mom for sure.
Okay, so are there any others? Yeah, that's been a while, and memories are a little sketchy going back that far.
Lenora was,
Virgil?
oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Go, please.
Okay. Seems rather in vain, probably, but one of my strongest favorite memories from when I was really little was when Lenora had gone somewhere and learned a new trick. And she come home, got a paint jar over the lid, took Virgil out, and to catch monkeys off the lid. And so that was a new skill. That's something I really remember.
That got passed down because we were catching bumblebees off the same wildlife commission.
I remember. Okay.
Lenora loved to. We got our first horse because Lenora wanted a horse. It's called Pepper, and I do remember a little bit about Pepper. But I do remember that when you turned him towards home, you better be hanging on because he was in a hurry, or he was in a hurry to get home. But she did love horses. So Lenora I found it very interesting. I took care of Lenora. Lenora was failing in her memory and had dementia. That's why she was at a memory care unit. And I say this because it tells you who Lenora was. I wound up having to completely take over Lenora's life. Her bank account, her medical decisions. I was asked to do that, and Leonard was, when Lenora came out here, Leonard was asked me to because he was at home, a long ways away. And there were early stages. Lenora was a fiercely independent person, I would say, and wanted to be independent and did not want to be a burden on anybody. And we'll address that more later on. But I want to share this because as I think back on it, it told me who Lenora was. Just imagine if somebody came into your life and started taking away all of your control, and you no longer could even see your bank account, and you couldn't have access to your bank account, which I had to do because that's what the federal government requires when you manage somebody's Social Security. And it was not easy for her, but it got to the point where she was always telling me, thank you for doing it. She turned it around and became grateful. And that made it easy when she really accepted that and was able to move on and not hold it against me, but instead turn it around and said thank you. Pretty much near every time that I had to deal with something and explain to her why this or why that or something else. And I just want to tell you that made it a whole lot easier for me to do it. And so anyhow, that's just, we're here to celebrate Lenora, and I felt that does part of that. Lenora had 3 songs she loved so much that she wanted them played now I've kind of tried to figure this out. She wanted them played at this service, but she didn't want a funeral. That's kind of Lenora. And David's got a story about that I want him to tell later on, which I think is really good. And the first one that we're going to play is My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. And I will tell you, and I'm telling you this for a reason, that after listening to this song several times, it's gone away?
Yeah, having a little summer, having a hard time.
No, okay. Is that better? Yes. All right. I will tell you that after listening to this song, My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, that she deeply cared about people in her life. Because I sat there wondering why she liked this song so well. And I now wish that I had asked her why she liked this song so well, but then I questioned whether I should have. I don't know, because it might have been very personal. So when you listen to this song, just realize that Lenora had deep feelings. Would you play it, please?
Night in my dreams, I see you, I feel you. That is how I know you go on. Far across the distance and spaces between us, you have come to show you. Near, far, wherever you are, I believe that Once more, you open the door, and you ring my heart, and my heart will go on and on. Just one time and last for a lifetime, and never let go till we're gone. Love was when I loved you one true time. I hold you in my life will always go on. Here, far, wherever you are, I believe that the waters go on. Once more, you open the door, and you're here in my heart, and my heart will go on and on. There's nothing out there, and I know that my heart will go on. We'll stay forever this way. You are safe in my heart, and my heart will go on and
So now her son Leonard will read the eulogy he wrote for his mom, which includes sharing a little time with him after she retired.
Hi there, I'm Leonard Weir. I'm the son of Lenora Moore, and what a true blessing it was to have a wonderful best friend, mother, and confidant. I want to thank you so much for being here and to celebrate the life of my mother. Mom enriched the lives of many of those who love her. Mom enriched lives with her love, devotion, kindness, caring nature. She had a true gift of making sure that everyone felt welcome, comfortable, and cared for. It seemed like a second nature to Mom. Some of my earliest memories, I remember Mom taking me turtle hunting when I was knee-high to a grasshopper in Indian Hills. And I only found one turtle, but Mom pulled over several times just because of her, because of her willingness and patience and ever enduring spirit. Mom was so good and intuitive. She put me through beginner, intermediate, and advanced swimming classes or lessons before I was 10 years old. She knew that I loved being in ponds of water. Whenever and wherever they came, I wanted to be there playing in them. Mom would love to ride bikes with me. We'd ride several times a week for miles. This is in Lakewood, and that's where we lived at that time. She was working for the city of Lakewood at the time. Mom wanted to spend good quality time on activities and togetherness that were bonding and caring. She did a lot of that. Mom always loved being in the mountains. Whether it was a family camping trip for an extended weekend or just simply a drive, I recall Mom, Dad, and I taking easily 6 or more drives and long extended camping trips to the mountains. And one of Mom's favorite things or places to go on a day trip to the mountains was in the Rocky Mountain National Forest, and that was between Estes Park and Craig, Colorado. That was her favorite place. Mom loved going to plays, movies, and out to dinner and dining. While Mom lived with me in Aurora, Colorado, we would spend as much time doing drives in the mountains, dining, and movie watching as we could. Most of all, though, she really loved the mountains. She just loved being in the nature. That was her favorite thing, is just being in the nature. Mom was a dedicated employee to the city of Lakewood in 3 different departments. Mom really loved to work for the city of Lakewood, and after 52 years of service, it shows. Mom was awarded the Inspiration Award by the City Mayor of Lakewood, and I believe that was in 2019. Mom's coworkers loved her. That was a second family to Mom. After she retired, Mom lived with me, and we'd go through walks in the neighborhood, and that was with my dog Athena. Mom enjoyed going on those walks and accepted my little puppy as her granddaughter. I thought that was great. Mom would address her as granddaughter, and she loved Athena. The 3 of us were able to go to Craig, Colorado, and enjoy a mountain trip for a week. Mom really loved talking about that and loved that trip that we took. We would drive to Riverbend Restaurant in Bailey, Colorado several times. That was their favorite place to go in the mountains. And it was just west of Denver and, of course, into the mountains. Eventually, I could see that she was remembering less and less, and Mom's faculties were diminishing. I would take Mom to restaurants, and the staff would find her in the parking lot and would not come, after not coming back to the dinner table or lunch. Poor Mom was starting to fall down in the house during the night, going to the restroom, and I would find bruises on her arm the next morning. This was happening too often. I could see other things starting to happen that were concerning too. With me working 40 to 50 hours during the day and nobody to look after Mom during the workday or my workday, Mom needed more help and more assistance through the day, and that's when my family stepped in and brought Mom to Idaho. Aunt Susie and Uncle Doyle took my mother into their house. Yes. Aunt Susie and Uncle Doyle. How about I move towards it? No. All right. Maybe I'm backing up. Anyways, Aunt Susie and Uncle Doyle took Mom into their house to take care of her in April Okay. Yeah, I'm a pro at that. Thank you. Late April of 2023, things with Mom were getting more debilitating for her, and this made things harder for others to take care of Mother. My cousin Renee and her husband, Jeffrey, and their 2 sons took Mom into their house to stay with them. Thank the good Lord for family members like them. Thank you very much. Mom got to the point where she needed full-time living assistance, and my Uncle Virgil and Aunt Diane looked for and found a very good place for her to be looked after and taken care of full-time. They called me with the news that they found Edgewood Spring Creek Memory Care, and that's where Mom spent 8 months. Mom always told me that she loved and really liked being there. Mom didn't like being a burden on family. She was content at Edgewood Spring Creek and was involved with the community and the residents there, and happy there. And she was really happy also to no longer be a burden to the family. More than anything, she was just really happy to be there. Mom was an amazing woman. In my mind, she'll always be the best mother and best friend. Mom blessed my life so much, and I know she blessed many others while being here on earth too. She is with the good Lord now, and she's at rest and peace with God. I know if Mom was here right now, she would say that she loves you, and she would thank you for all of the wonderful memories and time that you spent with her. Mom, know we love you all. We all love you very much. I miss you, and you are so missed by so many others. You will always be remembered, and we are here to celebrate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard. Okay, so Lenora had 3 songs that she wanted played. And we're going to play the other 2 as background music for a chronological slideshow of Lenora's life, from young to old. And Dean put a lot of work into that. Thank you, Dean. And so if you would play that at this time, appreciate it. All those songs are Josh Gordon, You Raise Me Up, and Judy Collins, Amazing Grace.
soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already
This was only 126 of the 250 photos that I had to work with for Lenora. And if you saw a picture, either up to this point or during the reception, you'll see even more pictures. If you saw a picture that you would like to have, or if you'd like the videos, please reach out to me. You can reach me at, most of you know my name, Dean Stucker, DeanStucker @gmail.com. And I'll be happy to send you a link to all of the resources that I had to make these videos that you see today and during this service. Or just give me a call, text me, and I can send you the link through the phone as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. So right now, I'm going to ask David to come up. David lived with Lenora and Daryl in Denver for a little while in Colorado, and he told me a couple of things that I thought you would like to hear. And for most of us, we didn't see a lot of Lenora at that particular time of her life, except for things like this, when she would come to funerals or weddings or that sort of thing. But David had a little more intimate time with them, and so I'm going to ask him to come up and just kind of do that, and then if anybody else wants to have something to share, now is the time for that.
So to keep it simple, I just call these the Colorado years. And Lenora was a Denverite to the bone. She loved Denver. She loved the city of Lakewood. So a lot of shove it in my mouth.
There you go.
a lot of her living was revolved around Colorado and Denver. Virgil, if I don't catch the ones you had in mind, let me know. There's a few. I stayed with Lenora and Daryl while I was going to Denver Automotive and Diesel College in 74 and 75. And one thing, and I don't remember getting an answer, Leonard, but here it comes. One of the things I remember very well is Lenora and Daryl were sitting at the table paying the bills, and Jerry's medical bills had rolled in, and there was stacks of them. And we ended up, and we were talking about it, and I just remember a comment that Daryl made, like he made it last week. He said, we just pay bills until the money's gone. We set them in the corner, and we pay more later next time. And then I know that whole thing was really stressful for them. And Lenora has stayed in really close contact with the Weir family. The Weir family is family. They always have been. And I wonder if that song that meant so much to her, I wonder if that's it. There's things that run through my mind. There's the time with Jerry, and then Jerry being gone. And Lenora's life wasn't easy in a lot of ways. And I wonder, Anyway, that was a tough time. And while I was going to Denver Automotive and Diesel, staying with Lenora and Daryl and Leonard. And I'm sorry, I hardly remember Leonard, but he was 5 and he was upstairs and I was in the basement. But I lived on French toast. And one time I put the pan on high and I went out to get the mail and I got back and I locked myself out. And so I quickly checked every window and every door, and it was pretty securely locked up. And I could see the pan in the window, and it got warmer and warmer, and then smoke started coming off. And I had to get in there. Well, I jimmied the garage, one of the garage door locks, and I got in there and I got it shut down. And then later on, Daryl came to me. He says, "Dave," he was very understanding. He was very kind. He said, "Dave, that lock just doesn't work like it used to. Would you buy me a new lock?" So here's the point of that story. I cannot believe Daryl had to come and ask me to replace that lock. But he did, and I did, and they were very gracious about it. They were wonderful hosts, and I really appreciated that time. I was working on my Jeep one time. I was going to Denver Automotive and Diesel, and I pulled the transmission and replaced the clutch, and so I didn't have any wheels, and I caught a bus going home, and I also worked for the school in their weld shop, and caught a bus going home. Well, I thought I was, and it turned out all the buses were gone. And some guys picked me up, and they asked me where I was going. I said, 9542 West Virginia Drive, Alameda. And they said, well, that's a long ways. You got any money for gas? I'm like, well, yeah, I got my bus fare. It was $1.35. They said, well, that won't get you far. You got any more than that? I said, no, that's it. I said, you sure? So I could tell this thing was amping up. So I handed him my wallet. He went all through it. Handed back. He said, well, we can't take you very far for $1.35. And so they let me out. And I went back and told Lenora and Daryl. And Daryl was, he says, well, I was going to call the cops, man. I was pretty hot. And so I told them, and Daryl's like, well, you know, if you think about it, you weren't robbed. I'm like, what do you mean I wasn't robbed? He said, they asked you for your money, right? Yeah. You gave it to them, right? Yeah. Then they let you out, right? And I'm like, oh, man. It was just one of those moments you don't forget. Now they just asked me for my money, and I gave it to them. That was it. And Lenora and Daryl and I don't know, they didn't really cry on my shoulder or let me cry on theirs like I had expected, but it made a memory.
You told me you tried to run back or track where they had gone across Colorado.
Yeah, that was next, actually. Thank you. And that impressed me. You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I am sure Daryl told me more than once they loved you. They loved the mountains. Oh, yeah. When they were out here, we took Lenora camping with us three times. I mean, you could just watch her relax and unwind as she got up into the mountains. She loved the mountains. Anyway, I'm sure Daryl told me that they crossed Colorado, and I think it was east and west, if not east and west, and north and south on Jeep trails, and those Jeepsters.
Oh yeah.
And they loved it. And Daryl said the only time they got on a blacktop road was just to go across it and get to the other side. They were all over Colorado in those. And I remember Daryl telling me they had guys, they'd go up trails so steep, they'd have people get up and sit on the front just to make sure that it stayed where it belonged. And they loved that. They just loved that. I need to unwind a little bit here. Just stories, Colorado stories. This is Ryan.
I also had my Colorado years, just two of them, but I remember Lenora and Leonard being kind of the safety net that I always knew was there. You know, we didn't interact as much as I think I wanted or they wanted either, because we were all busy trying to live our lives in the middle of she was working, you were working, I was working. But I always knew that if I had a question, especially about anything local, I would just bring up one or the two, and they would have everything I needed to know about everything, all the warnings, the cautions, the things to do, the fun places to do, things like that. They were just kind of that quiet, solid rock that you can always just depend on if you need to do anything. And I only had lunch and dinner with you guys a couple times, but it was really important to me when I was living there because I just always knew they were there. And that's how she was. You know, I knew she cared, she would prioritize us, you know, me. And so I just thought that was just such a relief when I was there. Well, sure.
Thank you, Ryan. You know, I got to confess, I'm almost hoping a hand doesn't go up. If it does, you let me know and don't let me miss it.
I just want to say that Wes and I had enjoyed many times dropping in on Daryl and Lenora in Colorado. We visited them many times, especially when the kids were little. But they always enjoyed taking not only us, but any of the family that dropped in out for dinner to Casa Bonita. That was just a very, very fun place to go, and it was a really good memory. The other thing that they did is go to the playhouse dinner theater.
Country dinner playhouse. Country dinner playhouse.
Country dinner playhouse in Denver, and they would have popular shows, plays there, and it was a really fun place to go to. And we did that with them multiple times.
We saw guys and dolls there.
And we saw guys and dolls there.
Fiddler on the roof.
So I did want to share one other memory that Wes and I have while she was living in Colorado. And I don't know that many of you were able to do this, but one day Wes and I went with Lenora to work. And so several of us have always been intrigued with what her job was at the time, working for the city clerk, and that was the city liquor inspector. So we went to work with her one day, went to a tavern where she did an inspection. She had a checklist that she had to do, but we learned there that the liquor bottles could have 3 or 4 fruit flies in them and still be okay. So, anyway, that was just a fun memory that we had. So I received this text from my son, if I can get back to it. He says, "Hello to all the Stuffer family from the Kevin Stuffer family. We are joining you live. When I was younger, a teenager and into my 20s, I collected shot glasses. Aunt Lenora and I shared this same hobby. When she moved to Idaho, she gifted to me her shot glass collection. She had about double the amount that I have. She had about 80. I was looking through them and really enjoying seeing the places she has visited or collected them from. I would love to hear about some of her travels or memories of some of you traveling with her."
I could say something about that.
Thank you, Holly. And Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. Mom, I do believe, she did have that shot glass collection, and I believe she had more than one of every 50 states of the United States of America. So that was kind of her souvenir of when she would travel, what she would do, and trying to put together a collection. She also did the refrigerator magnets. The refrigerator that you couldn't even see the paint on her refrigerator. There were so many magnets. She'd been everywhere, and she loved to travel. I remember her and I going to Alaska, and that was at least the first for me. I think that was the first time for my mother as well. But that was such a beautiful place, and she really enjoyed being in Alaska. We stayed there after, and then we were on the cruise. And we actually stayed there with some friends of the family for an additional 4 days. We went to Talkeetna, went to Palmer, Juneau, went to a lot of places that we didn't stop at on the cruise, the different ports. So we rented an SUV, a big Suburban, and just drove around the state of Alaska as much as we can. And, Alaska's pretty big. And Texas thinks they're pretty big too, comparatively speaking. But anyways, Mom did love going on trips and traveling in the mountains. She extremely loved being just in nature, fishing. I have stories of Mom and Dad and I fishing in Eugene Pass. I'm in Eugene Pass, I'm sorry, in Colorado Mountains. I can't recall, I think it was near Telluride, Colorado. And my dad found this lake, Lake Ptarmigan, and we went there in Dad's Jeep Commander that he had repainted and rebuilt, and new transmission and tires and everything, and got ready to do what Dad wanted the Jeep to do. Take on the terrain, anywhere and everywhere. Anyway, so he found this lake, and there are people up there fishing already. It was a big lake, and these people were reeling in fish. That's plural, right? Fish, right? Not fishes. Anyhow, they're reeling in fish, or lake trout and brooks, and they were browns. Sorry, they were catching them on spinners, and they had strips of bacon they put on the truck behind it. I was so excited to come back the next day because we had to go back to town to get tackle at a big tackle shop. So excited to come back the next day because people were reeling in fish right and left. And Mom went out there and she fished and she was getting fish, and I was kind of messing around with my tackle and trying to bait the hook and everything like that. But anyhow, yeah, we had a lot of fun, and Mom, I think, pulled in 5 in a matter of probably about a half an hour or so. They were just reeling in. I got so sick because I was so excited, it made my stomach sick. So I had to stay in the Jeep while they were out fishing and having a great old time. But anyways, yeah, she did love being in the mountains. She loved having people over to the house for Thanksgiving, for dinners, whenever people were in town. She loved, again, the Country Dinner Playhouse. And I think there was the Trail Dust Steakhouse that was fairly close to that we would take family members to as well. Anyways, anybody has anything else to say on that and add to it?
Lenny, I'll ask that about Kevin's question. Kevin asked about some of her trips and travels. I don't know about many of them, but we owned a second home in Arizona for many years, and during that time, Lenora and Lenny came out to visit us. And when Craig and I would go down to our casita in Arizona, we'd go and we would just chill. It was our downtime to relax and hang out and do nothing. That was our favorite thing. But when Aunt Lenora came to town, we hit Trader Joe's, we got snacks, protein snacks, and we went from the time we woke up until the time that we went to bed, and we had a blast. She actually had an agenda of things that she wanted to do, and we did them, but she definitely loved traveling. I think her favorite point, which I can't speak to this for sure, but if I were to guess, I would say that she would have said her favorite point of that trip to Scottsdale to visit us was going out to the Frank Lloyd Wright House. That was phenomenal. We had a great time. I had never been, and she had gone with my dad to another Frank Lloyd Wright House when they drove out to, I think, a reunion. And she was just enamored with it, and I actually was also enamored with it. By the end of that tour, the tour guide and Aunt Lenora were pretty much trying to convince me to sign up to be a volunteer and lead tours. I think she just wanted me to get her into every other Frank Lloyd Wright house. But she loved travel, and we really, really had a great time.
Cindy. Anyone else?
So I guess this goes with the Colorado section of sharing. So Mel and I went down and picked up Lenora to bring her back to Idaho. We were on a trip to Texas at the time. We like to travel too, you can tell. So we dropped by Leonard's house and picked up Lenora. And that was a tearful goodbye for the two of them. And we could tell that Lenora was already homesick. She loves Colorado, loved the countryside. And so that entire time drive home, we could tell that she was missing Colorado already. And so very shortly after we got her here, we took her up to Stanley Lake and Redfish Lake. She thoroughly enjoyed that drive. And I knew that she loved the mountains. And so we knew that to kind of address her homesickness for those mountains, we'd give her a day tour up to Stanley Lake and Redfish Lake, and she loved it.
So a week or two later, we thought we'd take Lenora out for a little outing. And we asked her if she'd like to go to Stanley. She said, I think I was just there. We're like, well, we really like it. Did you like it? She said, oh yeah. Do you want to go again? She said, let's go. So we went again, had a great time. We went camping. And there's a, Virgil has reminded me we need to keep moving, but there's one I can't leave out. And I wish Lenora was here to tell this, because she was a 52-year employee at the city of Lakewood, which is a suburb of Denver. And I wish she could tell you about getting the job as the liquor inspector. She felt like the Lord gave her that job from the time she first laid eyes on the application. I wish she could tell you. It was very interesting. Here's something I want you to know. And they did love her. Lenora, on a bad day, they literally let her make a bed and sleep in her office Lenora was the city of Lakewood, or at least that's what I understood. And if the weather was really bad, she had the option to just stay there. But I wrote this out because I want to get it right. During her 52 years of working for the city of Lakewood, Colorado, while in the city clerk's office, working as city liquor inspector. And she was their first liquor inspector and practically their only one. She had a new supervisor that just didn't like her and didn't mind telling her. And she intended to get rid of Lenora. But instead, Lenora came up for an Excellent Service Award a short time later, and it was given at a meeting of all the Lakewood City employees. And the supervisor that didn't like her had to get up front and sing her praises and give her the award. I'm sorry, I wish Lenora could tell you this. Lenora is a humble person, but she got a kick out of that. Anyway, so that person had to give her the award, this glowing award, and then that supervisor was soon gone, and Lenora continued her service to the city of Lakewood for the rest of her 52-year career. And I just got a kick out of that. I thought you should know that. And there's one, Virgil, can you tolerate one more?
If they can.
You know what, we'll catch this no, because it started in the Colorado years. When I worked in the oil field, I literally did a frack inside the Thornton city limits, which is another suburb of Denver, just north. Yeah, and we did a frack there. I'll tell you, they love you or they hate you, and it got interesting. But whenever I got close, I would call them up and say, hey, can we go to dinner? And as the years went on, it was tougher and tougher because she needed to rest up for the next day, but we got to go to dinner a lot. And I got in the habit of taking Lenora flowers. And I really enjoyed that, and she did too. And sometimes, I think a time or two, you went with me and I took Lenora flowers. And one time I was taking, and I would meet him, there was a Buffalo restaurant there.
Ted's Montana Grill.
Ted's Montana Grill. And I met him there, and I thought, well, it doesn't seem fair just to take Lenora flowers. I need to take Leonard something. So you need to know the backstory. Leonard does love water. He knows what's coming. He does love water. And one time, they lived in Colorado, but they came out and visited us, and we were floating the Boise River, and I had a cooler of pops. And Leonard, where are you, buddy? and Jim were in a little two-man raft. One of them yells over and said, hey, Uncle, toss me a Mountain Dew, will you? And I was like, sure. I grabbed a Mountain Dew and I tossed it to him, but it fell short. I didn't do it on purpose, I promise. And these guys are in their teens, and they're too cool for their own skin. And they both in perfect synchronistic movement. They both dived for that Mountain Dew. I did not know you could flip a two-man raft that fast and that efficiently. So then when I would take Lenora flowers, I got this idea. It's like, I'm not going to toss it. Relax, I'm not going to toss it. I'm just going to put it in your hand.
Thank you.
And then,
Gladly accept.
since both of the cobras are I won't toss it, Jim. I'm just going to put it in your hand. This one's on me. But I love that memory. They probably have had it with me by now, but it was so, I never saw a raft flip so fast in my life. It was awesome. And they've been good sports about it, but I'd take Lenora flowers and I would bring Leonard a Mountain Dew, and I was always careful to put it in his hand. Okay, so I have been forewarned.
Leonard, weren't you in the Navy?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense now.
So, okay, one more if I may. This is real short. They crossed Colorado with that old Jeepster, but at one time the muffler sprung a leak and Lenora was sleeping in the back, and it just about took her out. Do you remember that?
I don't remember it, but I recall.
You heard about it.
Right, correct.
Yeah, and they caught her in time. They got her in, and she was okay, but that was a close call. Thank you, Jesus. You know, we all have thank you, Jesus moments. That was a thank you, Jesus moment. We almost lost Lenora. And, wow. Okay, one more and then I'll quit. I got to be with Lenora and Bill when Bill passed. I was close. I got permission. I got down to sit with Lenora and Bill, as Bill's friends and their friends were coming in to tell Bill goodbye, I got to know Bill on the way out. But I appreciate the privilege of getting to know Lenora and Bill during those getting to know Bill during those Colorado years, sitting with Lenora and Bill as the friends came through to see him one more time.
You'd like to be railroad first, all I'm sorry. I think that song meant a lot to Lenora. If you read the words, like I was doing, and you contemplate about the hard times that she had and the people that she lost, or almost lost, and then lost later, to me it makes a lot of sense. You know, she lost her son. She went through a real scare with cancer with her husband Bill. And that's where she got introduced to a real honest to God miracle, because he was healed from that cancer. There's no question. And then you know, she's lost 3 other dear people that were buried. So I get it. I understand that song that we talked about. Yeah. I remember they didn't live in suburbs all the time. There was one time where they moved to the mountains, and they lived up one of the draws up into the mountains, and I enjoyed visiting their house there. And I'm sure it was a great way for them to just get out of the house and go hunting, you know, literally off the draw. I do remember that. One of my first memories of even remembering them, actually probably my first memory, was when they were already living in Colorado. Because I don't remember her in Wisconsin at all. The only time I remember her in Wisconsin was when they came back to visit us years later. But I do remember driving from Wisconsin to Colorado and visiting their, I think this was one of their first houses. So I think it was probably my first actual memory of Lenora is at one of their first houses in Colorado. Same here. And I remember, well, we're going to see our sister. And again, it was only because we had to take their word for it that she was.
Thanks.
Most of you people know who I am. The thing that's really memorial to me to be here is I wanted this place when it was constructed. And I'm standing in the midst. I know some of you very well. A lot of time has passed. That song was sang when we've been there for 10,000 years. It just began. So it's an honor for me to say it's nice to be in your midst. It's building that I helped wild close to, 40 years ago, Russ? Quite a while. And I've got many friends that you know of, that I know of. They're gone. Only in this life will we shall see each other.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit, Warren, about seeing Lenora again.
You remember that when we read this, Virgil?
I don't. I don't. We're going to talk about
a lot of things I don't remember. I'm a year older than she was. I didn't know when she was born. But because of the Stucker family in this valley and my relationship with them and other people just related to you people because they married somebody else you knew, makes our relationship unbelievably strong. The Stucker family has been a blessing to me. And we're all going to see each other, and I'm going to see so many of my friends that I think about when I think, oh yeah, how would you, Jack, or Don, or somebody else, and I can't because of the world. God's strength is stronger than the world will ever be. Satan controls the world. God controls our relationship. It's an honor to be in your midst.
Thank you, Warren. So Aaron has a question. What's the difference in age between Lenora and the twins? Somebody work on that, will you? Pardon?
15 and a half years.
That was fast.
15 and a
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you. I'll just hang on to that.
Okay.
Okay, you were right, Diane. This may go a little longer than what it should. I warned you that you are going to learn about Stucker family. Well, that's part of it. So we're going to move on, to try to move it along. They told me an hour to hour and a half, and we're pushing an hour and a half really close, so we do need to move on. Let's talk about the Idaho life. Dean and Danelle brought Lenora to Idaho in April of 2023. Lenora lived with Susie, Lenora's sister, and Susie's husband Doyle for about 7 months, and then with her niece Renee and her husband Jeffrey for another 5 months. She then moved to a certified care home for 1 month, which was not a good fit for Lenora. A room opened up at just the right time, and I think God managed that, at Edgewood Spring Memory Care, a couple of miles from here, where she lived for 8 months until she passed away. Lenora told me many times that she loved being there, and the folks there told me that they loved having her there and would miss her very much. And I should tell you that when I called, Wes wanted some pictures of her at Edgewood, and 3 of those pictures were at Edgewood, where she stayed. I got a hold of the lady that did the activities, and she was gone when Lenora passed away, and she expressed a great deal of sympathy, and virtually every employee that I talked to said they loved Lenora. She was fun, Lenora loved being there, and that was so good to have. That was so good to hear, and she constantly was thanking me for helping her be able to be there, and I so appreciated that she was. I came to realize that what bothered Lenora most, and I want Susie and Renee to hear this, what bothered Lenora the most was she thought she was being a burden to her family, and we could not convince her otherwise. And when she moved into Edgewood, she no longer felt like she was a burden to her family. That was a big deal to Lenora, I come to understand. And it was wonderful to see her contented and enjoying life again. And I want you family members to know that it was because she felt like she was a burden, no matter what we could tell her. And we told her over and over again that she was not, that she was loved. But she felt like that. She was independent. She was an independent spirit, and she was not able to be that until she was moved into a place where she knew. And when I told her that Leonard was not having to pay for any of her bills, it was just like a load came off of her. And she just loved the thought that she was no longer a burden to anybody. And the last part of her life, she really enjoyed where she was at, and it was all in that. So remember that, and I think that's an important lesson as we go about helping people and doing things for people, that can be a big deal. It can be a big deal. We did what we needed to do, and I think God allowed us to let her enjoy the last part of her life. And I just wanted to share that with you. I also Man, we are running out of time. We're supposed to have an Idaho sharing time. Yeah, David, why don't you come up and share what you have, and if there's something that just is.
Didn't we do the Idaho sharing? No.
Not really. Maybe, have we?
Oh, we
have
were
got
going to
enough?
do the Idaho sharing along with the Edgewood.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and do, I want to kind of move. First of all, I want to say some thank yous. I want to thank Susie and Renee and your families for opening your home to Lenora. That was a big deal, and it was a necessary deal. The move to Edgewood was also necessary, but it was all parts of life that needed to be. It needed to happen, and I also want to thank everybody else that spent time loving and caring for Lenora. I know Rebecca spent a lot of time. There was others that did, but there was a lot of the family that spent a lot of time just loving and caring for Lenora, and she appreciated it. But it was what needed to be done, and that's what we do for family. We do what needs to be done. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's joy, but that's what life is all about. And that's what we did for Lenora, and I think she recognized that, especially once she got out of feeling like she was a burden. She was so grateful for everything. I think I already said this, I don't think there was a time I saw her or went in and did business or something that she wasn't in a grateful attitude. And so when you get old, try to shoot for that. We would all appreciate that. And if I'm not that way when I get old, remind me that that's what I'm supposed to be, okay? All right, I want David to come up, and would you share what you have gotten prepared to share? And we're going to try and close this down if we can, but there's some things that David needs to share with us, and I said David needs to share with us because you need to hear it. David spent time with Lenora that makes me feel guilty, to be really honest with you.
No.
David spent time with Lenora talking about the Lord and talking about relationship between us and God. And he spent a lot of time talking to her. And I didn't know it until we started doing this. And I want him to share just a little bit about that. I want him to come up and share how it came about and what the results of it was.
Okay, so I have an agreement with Virgil that he can put me on a pretty close tether here because this could be a runaway. So now you've been warned as well. I'll try to keep moving. There's a couple of things that we need to cover. One is, Lenora, there was a time between Renee and Edgewood. It was a short time, and it wasn't a good fit, but I'll tell you what happened, is it was a place for Lenora to be until Edgewood opened up. And I got to tell you a story about Edgewood. Things didn't, not Edgewood, but we'll just call it.
Yeah, the house in Meridian.
We'll call it the house in Meridian. Well, it's Teresa's house because she let us know more than once. Anyway, Lenora would tell her I'm cold, and she's like, well, all the other residents are fine. That was the end of it. And Lenora wanted her supplements, and I think those supplements did her a lot of good, and Lenora wanted her supplements. And
okay, I've got a box of supplements. I mean a box of supplements that are still at my house because they wouldn't let her have them.
Yeah, and Teresa says, well, the doctor's got to approve them first, and Lenora's like, oh, come on, they're just supplements. Teresa's like, you don't get them until the doctor approves. My house, my rules. Lenora wasn't happy about that because they were keeping her alive. And she's like, so she let me know, and more than once, she's like, you guys are trying to kill me. Can I just have my supplements?
Let me pick in because it's important.
Okay.
Because of Lenora's desire not to be a burden, I think every time I saw her, when something would come up, she would just simply say, I want to die. How many times did you hear that? How many times Renee, did you hear that? I just want to die. Why am I still alive? And one time, I believe she asked Renee to shoot her. Lenora says, you work for the sheriff's office. You know I'd go to jail. I can't. Oh, yeah, well, that's true. Okay, forget that. That was Lenora. And so she just always said, I just want to die. and that's hard for the family. We tried to convince her to get out of that. I never heard that again after she went into Edgewood. That was the difference that it made, to lift that burden from her. Okay, now the reason I tell you that is because Lenora is saying, I want to die. You have to understand that to hear the rest of David's story.
Yeah, I just want to die, and we won't give her, and Teresa won't give her supplements, so she just wants to die. And I'm like, Lenora, we love you. We're working hard to keep you around. Well, just let me die. And she's like, and I want my supplements. And I kept hearing about this. I'm like, okay, Lenora, that's it. I said, you got to pick one. I said, you can't be mad at us for trying to kill you off and be mad at us for trying to keep you alive at the same time. I said, and furthermore, I think you should see the humor in that with me. She stopped. I said, you got to pick one. Now you got to be mad. You can be mad at us for trying to keep you alive when you just want to die, or you can be mad at us for trying to kill you off because we won't give you your supplements. But it's not fair to be mad at us for both. And she actually stopped and she thought about it, and we had a good laugh. And she did kind of let it go, but it was just funny. And Lenora enjoyed the moment with us, actually. But I view that time as a stopgap. One time Vanessa, she applied for a job. She thought she was going to get it. She didn't get it. Then I got sick, went in the hospital, and after that, she got the job. And it's just the Lord's timing. And Edgewood opened up, and we were able to move her, and it was great. And so thank you all for all you did for Lenora. The Lord's amazing in His time. Dale, I want to address that very quickly. Lenora didn't have an easy life. Just imagine for me a second, if you will, being one of Cora Dathan and Abiram's wives or kids. When Dad's going off the rails and there's nothing you can do about it. When things are just going strange. But you know that your job is to submit to the authority over you. And one of the reasons I feel comfortable to just touch on this is because Lenora and I discussed this at great length. And it's out of Matthew 8, 5 through 13. And Jesus called it great faith. And there's sometimes in your life when things are going off the rails and it's out of your control. These Eastern kings that just went through the realm and picked out whoever they wanted to be their next wife. Okay, I got that. Thank you. Sometimes life goes off the rails and there's nothing we can do about it. And life went off the rails for Lenora a few times. And here's one of the things, I'm going to jump to the end, but because you bring up a legitimate point. Lenora didn't try to be her own shepherd. And if I were to read Psalm 23 with Lenora and ask her, so what's the main point of this? It wouldn't be King David that wrote the psalm, the shepherd boy. The main point of that is Jesus. The Lord is my shepherd. He does all this stuff for me. Lenora knew who her shepherd was. She didn't try to dismiss the shepherd and be her own shepherd. She knew her place and she stayed in it, and she trusted the shepherd no matter what. I believe that. And in that psalm, King David knew who his shepherd was. He was the king of Israel. He was a man after God's own heart. He also was the guy that killed one of his best, most capable warriors and took his wife. But he knew who his shepherd was. And Apostle Paul knew who his shepherd was. He makes that very, very clear in Romans. And Lenora knew who her shepherd was. She didn't try to dismiss the shepherd and try to be her own shepherd and shepherd herself through life. She knew who she could trust. And when that song played, I thought, number one, she knew who her shepherd was. And her heart would go on because she knew who Jesus was, what he did, what he could do, what he was doing, and what he was going to do. And that he could do it, and that nobody can stop him. Lenora knew that. And so I have great confidence that we will see her again. And so each of these hits in her life, Jerry, and then Daryl, the cancer, and then the divorce, and the bills, and other big losses, she knew who her shepherd was, and that strengthened her. She didn't put herself she didn't put her confidence in herself. She put her confidence in her shepherd who could handle it. I believe that. And we had Okay, I'll keep it real short. You don't, if you believe me, will you be my new best friend? These are some of the bulletins I brought. Lenora, we know that it was tough to get her to church early in the morning because she was not a morning person and she didn't have to be. So I went and checked out the experience. What's that?
She was independent.
She was independent, yeah, and if she wasn't going, she wasn't going. Is that fair to say? Yeah, okay, moving on. And yeah, I'm looking for you. So I went and checked out the experience. Well, then she wanted lunch, so that didn't work. So I went to check out a place called Eagle Christian because they have a 4:30 and a 6 o'clock service. And I went to the 4:30 service on April 28th, and it was great. And I went to get her. She says, well, I'm just going to dinner. I don't want to miss dinner. I said, okay, I'll go and I'll come back and tell you about it. And I told her about it. I said, you want to go to the 6 o'clock one? She says, no, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. Well, long story short, I never got her to that church. But I went and visited that church on her behalf a lot of times. And then I came and told her what he preached on. And he spent the whole year in Romans. And it was amazing. And Lenora and I got to talk about a lot of things because Romans covers a lot of things. Paul knew who his shepherd was. David knew who his shepherd was. There's great pillars in the faith that he spent a whole, he spent a whole day on Romans 6:23. If you want to be your own shepherd, might as well go ahead and be your own kinsman redeemer. Just remember this. If you screw up one time in your life and you take that as a payment in lieu of a free gift, just remember the wages, and that's the pocket change, the pocket change for sin, and our best life is still laced with the traces of our own sins. So if you take your life and offer it to Him, looking for a payment of eternal life, just remember the wages, the pocket change for sin is death. But the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. That second half, I now highlight in green. Lenora's part of this process with me. I highlight in green things that God does for us that we cannot do for ourselves, no matter who we are. And my book is turning green, folks. Just like King David, just like Apostle Paul, and wonderful people like you, and like Lenora, we need a shepherd. And we need a shepherd that can deliver on his promises. And she knew his shepherd. She knew that her shepherd could deliver on his promises. And I have great confidence that I'll see her again.
I thought it was wonderful that he went to church and brought it back to her and spent a lot of time talking to her. And he shared with me that she was engaged.
Oh, yeah.
She would engage with him and was right there with it.
Virgil,
and I appreciate that.
Can I do one and then you can wrap it up if you want. One time I came back and I was all excited and I was telling her about this concept that he had preached on, and she got a big smile and she interrupted me and she finished the concept. She finished the thought, she finished the concept, she wrapped it up, and she sat there with a big old smile on her face. and it was amazing because she was tracking, she was processing, she got it, and she finished it for me, and she was happy about that. And you know what? So was I. It was awesome.
And this was my sister who, you could tell her something and 10 minutes later she would forget it, or a day later. So the Lord worked with her, blessed her, and I thank you, David, for spending that time with her that I didn't. The Lord has called us all to do different things. And that's what family's all about, is to do different things. And I've lost my notes. Where's my notes?
Did I haul them on?
No, I got them. I'm got them here. We're only 15 minutes past the limit. Huh? Yeah, prayer time? Oh. Okay. Thank you for putting up with the Stucker family and learning a little more about us. The family is going to meet in a reception area right over there. We have snacks and drinks, and for just more milling and chatting time, And you are welcome to join us if you want to. We've got, it's not a meal, but it's snacks. And so you are welcome to join us. I know I'm missing something, but Diane says I'm not, so probably not. Thank you again for spending this time with us. Yes. Oh yeah, I'm still getting there. Yeah. Thank you. Wes, would you come up and just ask the Lord to bless us as we fellowship together and talk to Him.
It's good to see each one of you, and thank you for coming. Thank you for your patience. And if you would, just bow with me and we'll go to the Lord in prayer. The prayer that I have today is basically a prayer of thanks and a prayer of seeking God's continued blessing for each one of us. Lord, your word tells us we are all sinners, saved by the grace of God and by the blood of the Lamb. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for your provision and a way of escape, providing us with hope and a promise of a home in your coming kingdom. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for doing the will of the Father and willingly shedding your blood for our sins. Lord, I pray that we would leave here today united in our efforts to demonstrate your love to others as you have so generously demonstrated to us. Thank you, Lord, for the many times we have traveled safely, not knowing how many times you have watched over us and provided protection. We seek your continued protection for those of us who are traveling home. Lord, I want to thank you for Lenora, who was such a good sister and a blessing she has been to each of us. And I ask for your blessing on Leonard as he journeys through this time of loss. Thank you, Lord, for those who provided care and support to Lenora in her time of need. You know them each one, and I pray for your blessing on each of them. Your reward and blessing is the best we can ask for. Thank you, Lord, for each of my siblings, their spouses, children, and grandchildren. Lord, thank you for our many friends who have joined us here today and the blessing they are to us. Lord, I seek your guidance, direction, and blessing for each home and family represented here. And I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. I'll get my junk out of your way.
I think you've been a little bit busy.
Thanks. Yep. We did it.
Oh, you're still lying.
Oh, I am. I'm going to turn this thing over.
And I thought somebody else. But anyhow, I want to. It's always not really they're right. Just as
Good.